Nneka, how are you doing this fine June 1st,
I
Monday,
know.
2026? We are halfway through the year.
Isn't that crazy? 6 months. Just we got
Woo!
more. That's it.
That is real crazy, isn't it? I can't believe that we are that close to being towards the end of the year.
I know. It's going by way too fast.
I know, right? Man, listen, oh, excuse me. Now I'm going to say, man, talk to
That's
you like
okay. No, I get it. No, that's all right.
I don't want to do that. But Nneka, ooh, I can't wait to get into this with you. This is a topic we have been talking about. I'll just go ahead and put it up here. Black, brilliant, and still looking. Why do Black women in corporate America find it hard to find marriage? I don't know why that's up there. I got to fix that. But wow. I mean, woo, I saw this come up probably a couple of days ago. And believe it or not, this is an old, it's from an old podcast. The podcast is from Earn Your Leisure. We're going to take this clip in a second.
Okay.
From Earn Your Leisure. It was on February 20th, 2024. And this is about Erica Pittman. And for those who don't know, Erica Pittman is a bit of a marketing genius. This woman is absolutely brilliant. She's worked for some of the top marketing firms and just top firms in the country. She's worked for Vibe. She's worked for Time Magazine. She's been CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. She's been VP for Sean Puff Daddy Combs, believe it or not, for his company, back before all the nonsense. And she has helped a lot of brands grow. And today she actually uses her voice to help other people's brands grow as well. They've learned it from her experience. She actually, I need to figure out how old she is, but I know she's probably about our age. Because I believe she said, and we're going to see, well, we may not see it in this clip, but she mentioned actually getting her start, I think, like right around 1996. So I'm sure she's probably in her 50s, probably early 50s, something like that. But nonetheless, she is a marketing genius. And she was actually on the podcast to discuss marketing and helping others in her career and what she's done, where she is now, and where she's, what she's planning to do. She just launched a podcast as well. But Nneka, one of the most captivating things she said to me, of all of the things she said that was probably one of the most interesting, was that Black women in corporate America are having a very, very difficult time in finding marriage. And, I sent this to you and I was like, ooh, Nneka, I think we got one tonight. Ooh, we got one tonight. And so I got a bunch of questions, but I'm going to leave because you're the resident expert. You're the woman here and you have been in corporate America. You're kind of sitting in that quasi space right now. And you have, because we've talked about this, you have friends who are in corporate America. I have actually some friends who are and were in corporate America. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to get your take, your opening take. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up the clip so we can let's do the clip now, just to let everybody know. The clip is, and it's long, Nneka, but I purposely did this because I really wanted to get the gist of the conversation, which is about, or that part of the conversation anyway, which is about 6 minutes roughly. But it's a very interesting 6 minutes. But I want to get your take, and then we'll jump straight into it.
Okay.
Oh no, you go ahead. What's your take on it? I mean, so far.
Oh, I thought you were going to play it. Are you playing?
Yeah, but I want your take afterwards too. But I want your take just in terms of the topic itself tonight.
I think it's a very interesting topic. I mean, I have my own personal experience with that, and I don't want to give too much away until we talk about it. But as you know, Black women are probably one among the most educated demographic, within our group. Within the group of African American men and women. And so that's to be celebrated, of course. But the thing that when I was growing up, getting my education, I remember being pressed and pushed to be in a relationship. And for me, Michael, I didn't necessarily want to be in a relationship because in my head, it would have been a distraction. Most people see relationships, women, we see them as a distraction. And if we can't be successful, if I can't be successful in that relationship, at least I can be successful in my career. So a lot of women don't feel that confident that they can have a successful relationship. Because if I indulge in this relationship and it's not successful, now it's a distraction. So I would
Mm.
focus on this career, which I have control over, which it's going to bring me happiness. Whereas, and this is just my take on it, and this is how I felt. And I don't know if people are saying that, but that's just how that was my take on it. This is what I have control over. This I do not. So when I think about my happiness and my peace, it's going to be here because I have the control over that. This man over here don't have control over. He's going to distract me, and it's going to knock me off my square, and I don't want that.
Wow, Nneka, how old were you? Were you in your early 20s at this point?
Yeah, I was late 20s. Early 20s, I kind of had that kind of sentiment. And then even when I went to grad school, I met Fred in grad school, but again, he was a different kind of guy. So he made me feel like, okay, I can do both. Still afraid to be hurt or to be distracted because I didn't want anything to take me away from what I wanted to do. And I feel like sometimes people are just not good in relationships. And so I didn't want anybody that's going to mess up my flow. I didn't want that. I'm like, nope, you ain't messing up my flow. And so that's what some women feel like, whether or not they will say that. I feel like some women feel like, you ain't messing up my flow. Yeah, I'll be all unhappy and then I'll stop. Wow. It'll distract me.
Where does that mindset come from, Nneka? Like, where did you develop that? I mean, because in my mind, I'm like, man, that's a lot right there. Unless you've been through it and that was the end result. But how did you come to that conclusion that, it would be disaster if you picked or tried to get into a relationship? Where did that come from?
Well, just experience. I didn't date a whole lot, but the amount of time that I did date, the number of times I did date, it wasn't successful. And then what, the experience, what I seen from family and friends, my father, my mother, things didn't work out between my parents. And so you just would rather not kind of, repeat that cycle. And so you kind of overgeneralize thinking that all relationships don't necessarily go the distance. All relationships are not necessarily happy. And so who wants to go through that, especially when you're trying to achieve higher education? And so that's why I feel like a lot of Black women are so educated, because that right there, their education, it's a sure thing. I can, climb the corporate ladder. I can, really immerse myself in my career, and I don't necessarily have to be bothered with a failed relationship. Now, we shouldn't feel that way because there are a lot of good men out there. But if that's what you experience initially, you feel like, let me just focus over here because this right here, it ain't too certain. Right. A relationship with someone, it's not too certain. It's not certain. It's not certainty there.
That's interesting. I got a ton more questions, but let me go ahead on and tee this video up. You can watch it real quick.
Interested to hear this because I used to be a financial advisor before I did this. When I was a financial advisor, 70% of my clients were women, Black women, and I learned something, that there's a lot of Black women that make a lot of money, like $500,000, $400,000 a year. They're like corporate diversity officers at Macy's and different things of that nature, and they're in their mid-30s, and they're single, and they've never had children. And I started to see a pattern, and I started to realize that this is my philosophy. There wasn't an equal counterpart a lot, right? Because it's like their counterpart, their age, wasn't making as much money, wasn't at that level of corporate. It might have been a good dude, but he's, is a delivery man, right? Yeah. Or the person that is at that level is already gone, is already taken, he's already married and has children. So from a relationship standpoint, I started to see that it was difficult a lot of times for Black women that was rising up that corporate ladder to get into a relationship so I don't know what your segment in the book about relationships is, but have you seen that, and what's your thoughts on that?
I absolutely have seen that, but I think that it's so nuanced. So there's a couple things that go into that. I think top line looking at it, yes, there's not an equal counterpart at every step for a lot of these women at a certain age. And
because men can go down too, right? Like men, you can be 40 years old and date the 28-year-old and nobody says anything. That's another thing that kind of, it's hard for a 40-year-old woman to find a 28-year-old man
that she wants to be with, right?
Right.
Because women like to be able to learn from their men and have leadership within their relationship traditionally, not all women. And so oftentimes men that are younger don't necessarily have those experiences. Some women do, and they do well in that space, but not most. But I think it's a combination of things. I think it's, and so many people with me, for instance, I'm single, I don't have children, and people ask me like, what happened? And I'm a heterosexual woman, right? And so it's like, well, a couple things happened. I think first and foremost, I always say I spent too much time on the wrong relationships. That is, I tell any young woman, get in and get out. It's the OG classic. That's what Jay-Z said.
Classic.
That's what Jay-Z said.
Now you're speaking the language.
Right?
Now you're speaking the language.
Get out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, move on as quickly as possible, right? Learn the lesson, forgive, and move on. So I didn't necessarily do that as often as perhaps I should have. But I also think, creating a space to date and explore. Women that are driven in their careers,
They don't have time.
tend to forget about how intentional you need to be about
That's
dating.
another thing. I'm glad you said that. They don't have time.
They don't have time. They don't make time.
They don't make the time.
They don't make the
Different.
time.
They have the time. They don't make the
They
time.
don't make it because it gets
Exactly.
exhausting, right? When you're constantly coming up against the men that may not be equally yoked.
Yeah.
You're like,
There's a list of priorities.
Yeah.
Is that how we're prioritizing these things? Like this is more important than this right at this present time?
Yeah, I had a friend that said to me, very, very, very good friend. She said, you need to approach getting married like finding your dream job. The same way you would go and find interviews and have conversations, you need to find friends that have single friends. You need to be in spaces where there are single men, because of the type of man that you want to marry is very unique. So you're not going to just bump into him at a supermarket. You've got to be intentional.
That's a fact.
And I thought it was brilliant when she said it to me way too late, but she had, obviously expressed it. And I think the same thing happens in some of the situations that you mentioned.
Just going back to my financial advisor days, I remember this guy was telling me, he told his daughter that, and he was like, what are you doing to find a husband? Like, you can't just wing it. You gotta actually treat this thing like you are, like you said, like you're trying to get a job. Like, you gotta actually have a set plan, blueprint, events that I'm gonna go to every
That's
single
right.
month.
Because the places you're going to run into are so limited at this point. There's days where I'm going to go to the library, or I might go to the theater, and I'm going to the art gallery. Like, it's like I'm in the club.
Is this why we potentially see a lot of interracial couples at higher, like the vice president and different things of that nature?
I think so. People tend to date within their industry or date in what they're most familiar with and around. And, unfortunately, I think that is the case. And I think I'm going to say something a little controversial, but I think that fundamentally Black youth is not as conditioned to marry automatically the way some other cultures are, right?
That's not
Other cultures,
It's like,
physical show that.
no, that's a fact.
right? They know they have to get married.
You don't really have a choice.
There's no choice. You're going to get married. It may not be today,
Or you get disowned.
right?
That's a fact.
Or it's going to be arranged.
Or it's going to be arranged for you.
Yeah.
And it may not be today, it may not be in 5 years, but you're going to get married. They also know to be successful, particularly the men in those cultures, thank you, know that having a wife represents something way broader. It represents responsibility. It represents anchoring. Like, you think about, have we ever had a single president? We've had a widowed president, but we've never had a single president, ever.
No.
Right? So there's little things that go into
Societal norms
around being married that don't necessarily exist automatically within our culture. So our young people don't know that we have to get married. Not that we have to, but that it would be beneficial for us to partner up and do some stuff together in that.
Yeah,
So-
I had all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you see why I actually let it go. I didn't want to miss the juiciest or the best portions of it. But so let's get into this. Just from what you heard, your thoughts. I took a lot of notes, by the way. listening to
Yeah. I just feel like, and I'm standing, I guess the thing that stood out to me is when they talked about being intentional about finding a mate. And I feel like, yeah, you can be intentional, but I don't care how you can find the most smartest women. I'm not bashing women or men, but they have no skills to relational skills. They just have business skills. And so people are like, their minds are blown when you have this pretty, educated, wealthy woman who's not in a relationship, because guess what? She ain't good at it. She's not good at it because she has invested so much time in her career. Just because you see this person, she's beautiful, she's career oriented, she's making good money, does not equal good at being in relationships. It just doesn't. And I think people put so much emphasis on finding a mate, but it's retaining, because you can find anybody, right? You can find somebody to date, but can you maintain that relationship? So I think people are not they're not being 100%. They're hanging out in the surface area, because there's so much more to that. It's just like, she said something like, you get in a relationship, you find that it's not good, you get in, you get out. But are you saying your part? Are you saying how you have contributed to that relationship not being good? And I think a lot of people are just not good at relationships, Michael. They're just not.
You just really made me think about something. And it's interesting because I've long wondered about this. When you do see these women, these very highly successful women, beautiful, talented, gifted, brilliant, at the top of the game, whatever the case is, and they are single. But the one thing I never thought about, Nneka, and you really got me thinking about this, you said they aren't good at it. And I was like, oh man, that set off an alarm for me, because I was like, oh, I wonder if they're partially not good at it because they've not done it, which is probably the case, right? They probably have very limited experience, but they don't even, I'm listening to you and I'm asking now, it almost feels as though they don't really care to learn about that part of life. It's more important, way more important, to be hyper focused on their careers, as opposed to, eventually getting married to someone and developing your interpersonal skills with people, with human beings, right? Outside of work, and not just work related things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people, like I said, people automatically feel like if you got all your crap together, you have that part together too. And I know a lot of people who are, in corporate America, Black women who are not good at relationships. No shade to my Black sisters, but they haven't taken the time to invest. As much as they invest in their careers and being good and equipped for success, I don't feel like that time is spent. It's almost like, I get a pass because I'm successful. Just accept me being successful, got a lot of money, I'm pretty. You know what? If this is the only part of my life where I'm not good at, give me a pass. And I'm like, I'm not saying people are saying that, but I feel like to not invest that time and look at self, and I'm sure some women are looking at themselves and say, how can I be better? I don't want to, overgeneralize and say that all women are not doing something right, because a lot of Black women are doing a lot right. But I feel like there's a portion of women that are not saying, let me learn how to be in a relationship. I know how to be in corporate relationships, but let me learn how to be in a romantic relationship. And I don't think a lot of people are being intentional about that.
That is really, that's eye-opening to me, because I do know a lot of women. When I was in corporate America, they spent a tremendous amount of time studying, practicing, doing all of these different things, getting the practical, in trying to become the best they could be at the top of their field. But I never thought about the fact that they never spent any time. They weren't intentional about that part of their lives as much as they were this other part, the work part. And it's crazy to me that I think about that, because like I'm sitting here thinking, ooh, a lot of these women don't want to get into these relationships because it sounds like they're scared to fail. But guess what? Not everything works out the way that you think it's going to work out, but at least you get and gain experience. Because if you have very limited experience, and I'm assuming, you get into your 30s and then your 40s and then your 50s, you got limited experience, you're going to be in some real trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, very real trouble. Speaking of which, Nneka, I wanted to do a podcast on this, but I think we can tie the two in tonight. a young white woman. This went viral about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, where this young white woman was exposed for giving up secrets for how young white women pursue black men, particularly athletes,
yeah,
and their modus operandi. Like they broke it down, Nneka. Like they broke it down. And the crazy part about this was it was a cheat code that they were passing back to other young women, other white women, to say, look, you're in your prime right now. Do not waste your prime years not attaining the goal now. Like, don't wait till you're 30 or 40 to go after one of these rich guys, because you probably won't get it then, because all your pretty power and all the rest of these other things, how you look, of course, it would have deteriorated over the years. But if you do it now and you play your cards right, this will set you up for the rest of your entire life. Well, the thing that caught me off, well, I don't say caught me off guard, but the thing that was surprising to me, I was like, why don't black women do this? Like, why don't black women share these kinds of things with other black women to put them in a position so that when they are 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, they aren't lonely and by themselves? Like, these white girls went so in depth. It was, I mean, they had a whole list, a whole chart, and they kind of just broke it down. It was like, look, you got to be attentive. You got to know, have his dinner ready. You got to take care of him. You got to support him. You got to do this. I mean, they just went down this list, Nneka, and I was thinking, wow, this is crazy. But I've never heard of such a thing in our community. And these women, when you looked at it, it almost like a predator, right? Setting a trap for their prey. And when you look, these guys look like they were some of the most happiest guys, this, that, and the other. And, meanwhile, on the other side, you get a lot of guys who are complaining, who are saying, man, look, I'm out. I'm going to go do something different, which is not fair, because that, of course, is using a brush to, use a broad stroke, to paint these women as such, and which is not the case. Black women I'm talking about now.
Right.
I just thought it was interesting that these white women had done it. And what bothers me now is that, at least I don't hear about it, and I want your perspective here. Do we have, because if we don't, I think we need it, to have these kinds of dialogue taking place where we're saying, look, we got to figure out what are they doing over there, because they're having a tremendous amount of success with our men. What is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know, Michael, if they're having a tremendous amount of success. I think it's manipulation. It really is, because, they're not really interested in the person. They're more interested in the person's life, with the lifestyle that they can have. That's what they're more attracted to. I don't think
that's true. I guess that's true. I'm gonna say yes to that, because I'm not sure if that's what their whole modus operandi. Maybe they do love the person, maybe they don't love. But we do know one thing for sure. To your point, I think they're in it for the money. They're in it for the long haul. They want that success.
When you target a certain demographic, when you target a certain group of people, come on. You're trying to build your happiness with money. You're trying to say, like, I know if I have a life with this person, my life is going to be exactly the way that I want it. I'm not going to have to work.
Mm-hmm.
I can, go shopping, go do my yoga, and go,
Yep.
volunteer at the school, keep a clean house, which all those things are nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't feel like Black women, today's Black women, we want to cater to our men, but there has to be a balance. We're not, for me, I cater to Fred. However, he doesn't require that level of, like, he can't do nothing for himself. And so I don't believe that a lot of women who are working like that, a lot of Black women who are working, and they're working just as hard as their men, they don't really have the energy or the desire to cater to men like that, because we're both bringing a lot to the table. So yes, do I love you? Do I care for you? Do I want to see you, add to your happiness? Do I do all those things? But you can't make me responsible for, just making sure that you maintain that. That's just a lot of responsibility to kind of juggle. When they describe that seems like a whole, like you can't keep a man if he don't want to be kept. Yeah, you can do all those things. Yeah, but does that really mean that you can keep him?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's so. So we're on the same page here because we're talking about two different things now. Just to close out on the other side.
Yeah.
So yeah, these women, what it was is they put together this whole kind of cheat sheet for if you want this type of man. So if you want this professional athlete making this kind of money, doing this kind of thing, here's the cheat sheet. And they, passed it down to these other women, these other white women. And I just thought it was interesting because I was like, I wonder if again, black women, do this. Older black women do this with younger black women. Not the manipulation piece, but just saying, look, and being intentional. Like this young lady said, like, do we do some course correcting and say, look, let me sit you down as an older woman to a younger woman. I love my career. I love everything that has come with. I love the accolades. I love the money. I love the position. I love all these different things. But I'm single at 60. And I realize now I could have balanced, like you said, Nneka, I could have balanced out my career. I could have made time for someone. But now I'm so, I may have done myself damage because I didn't pay enough attention. I didn't do some of the things that I really could have done so very easily in my earlier years. And now that I haven't done them, it's possible I may wind up by myself. And on top of that, I don't want to be by myself.
Right.
And I'm saying to you, young lady, don't make the mistakes that I made.
Yeah. But you know what, Michael? I think when I hear black men talk about black women being in relationships, you guys act like it's easy for a black woman to be chosen by a black man.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We just speak from our experience.
I know, but I'm just speaking. When I think about the number of black women that are out there that are single, when you think about, there are not a lot of people, breaking down doors, trying to find somebody to marry. You just don't have that. So when I hear black men say, not just you, black men say, well, why aren't you guys married? A lot of women do want to be married. They do. They do.
Let me ask you a question, because I didn't mean to cut you off, but because this woman said it. This is not my words. This is her words. She said that women, black women specifically, are not intentional. They're not putting themselves in positions and in places like they would. So this was a really good analogy she used. Her friend told her, she said, as a black woman, you need to pursue a man like you would pursue the job that you want. And I thought, ooh, that's good. Because she was saying, and this is what I surmised, she was saying that with the same vigor that you would pursue this position, this job, whatever it is, why aren't you doing that over here on this side? Like and using your words now, you got really good at doing your job. In fact, a lot of these women are the best at the job in general. Not one of the best, but the best at doing it. What makes you think if you weren't good there, you couldn't be good on the other side, I guess is my question, because I mean, I've seen some of the black women I've worked with, incredible, amazing. And we know this about black women. It's almost innate, right? It's like, it feels like to me, it's almost innate that these black women are just this brilliant. They just need to be, and black men for that matter as well, but we're talking about black women tonight. They just need the platform. They just need the visibility to be able to do it. But why, if you're that great there, why can't you be that great over here?
But Michael, like I said earlier, I just feel like a lot of black women, they want to be in relationships, but they're not pressed because of their experience. And I'm not saying that, black men are just, worthless. I'm not saying that at all, because I love my black men. I have one. So I just feel like as you come to a point in your life when it's not working out, where you're kissing a lot of frogs, where you feel like, I'm tired of investing time and energy into this. I'm going to invest my time into this, with the thing that makes me happy. And because again, a lot of women feel like this is how I felt. I didn't want to be distracted. When I was getting my master's, I did not want anything or anybody to distract me, because in my head, I know there's going to be something, there's going to be some conflicts. And I don't want to deal with conflicts while I'm trying to obtain this thing right here. Let me pursue this. Let me get this. And again, this may not be the sentiment of every Black woman. Of course it's not. But I feel like Black women are exhausted. And so so the analogy that she gave about pursuing a man like how she pursued her career, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Why not though? What's so maybe pursuing is not the right word, but
maybe once you get in the relationship, I mean, put yourself in positions where you can meet people. Okay, I can see that. But in turn, I'm really old school. I was not approaching no man. I was, I may give a smile or something like that when I was single, but I was not pulling that trigger saying no, because my thing is now if I have to do that, that means I'm doing is setting a precedent of now I'm initiating a lot of the interactions. And so I'm not taking that away. I wouldn't want to take that away from a man. Men, when they want something and they see it, they want it, they pursue it. You guys are hunters. So it's just like, why we gotta do anything but rather, yes, once we get in that relationship, yes, be intentional about making sure that it's good and you're, communicating effectively, you're being considerate, you're being kind, you're being loving, you're being giving, the reciprocity, all of that, the give and take. But most Black women don't want to pursue a man. They want to be pursued.
But Nneka, I guess this is because again, I'm just going back to what she said, because it makes sense to me, right? And because you kind of partly said this, of course, we know the odds are against women, right? There are way more women than there are men. So in DC, for example, I think I've heard the ratios are something like 20 or 26 to 1. So that means if you're interested, if you're heterosexual interested in men, you got to put yourself in places where men are going to be, which that means it's going to take effort, because guess what? Men of that caliber, or of any caliber for that matter, you got to go to where to go. So they're like football games, basketball games, going out playing golf, all these different things, which by the way, I have heard now a lot of younger women are starting to pursue these different activities because they realize, hey, my potential mate might be at a basketball game, might be at a football game, might be on the golf course, or some other thing where, men are perceived to be, right? But I guess my question is, what's wrong with, in that instance, pursuing what you want? I'm not even going to say a man, because I don't want to generalize it that much. I just want to, pursuing what you want. These younger women now, and this is interesting because I think you're right. I think older women, or women from our generation, mine and yours, I think those women probably do think or share your thought or your sentiment. I would love to talk to a younger woman who's in her 30s now to see what their thought process is, because I see and I hear these young women, they're actually going after what they want, because they realize if I just sit on the sidelines, Nneka, and wait for some guy to recognize me or to give me the green light or whatever, I may not ever get in the game, because it's so many persons or people or women out here that are looking for a particular man. And, if I just sit here and I do nothing, he might not come to me, where I could literally just go to him and at least start a conversation by saying hello, not even pushing up hard or pressing or, I heard women say the pick me thing or whatever the case is, but just hello. Is that a bad thing, Nneka, just to walk up to a man and say hello to get a conversation started?
I mean, I'm not going out. I was single, I wasn't going on my way to do that. If I happen to be walking up and we cross paths, I mean, I would not.
Even if it's somebody you was interested in, like you would just let them walk by.
No, because again, I feel like if a man is interested, they will initiate something. I'm not doing that, because again, that sets a precedent that now I got to be the one to initiate everything. I'm old school, Michael.
Yep.
Fred approached me. I was sitting alone. We were at a fundraiser. He approached me. I would not have said anything to Fred. I saw him. I thought he was a good looking man. I would not have said anything. I would have smiled. That was it. Now,
you would have let Fred walk off even though you had some sort of interest?
Because I feel like what's meant to be will be. I really, really believe that what will be, and my faith just kind of puts me in that spot. And I know not everybody is,
Sure.
story
Sure.
like that, but I just feel like what's going to be is going to be. And I feel like some of these corporate women, they've missed opportunities. They have,
Yeah.
because I think we all have little hangups, right? Because again, I ran a bit because I was afraid initially because of Fred is a good man. And I had never met anybody like that before. So it was foreign to me. So sometimes women pass up good men too, because it's hard to believe. So when they say, so it's just like, come on now, y'all. Sometimes we let some get away, just like men let some get away. Some women, and I think we've talked about this before with Claudia Jones.
Yeah.
You let some good ones get away because you're afraid. You're so afraid that it's going to end bad. And so you have a lot of men and women have anxiety, and people don't want to admit this. They have anxiety because that what I was dealing with when I met Fred. They have anxiety about when you find that person and it. It's like, oh my gosh, I've never felt that before. And people get anxiety and they run.
Wow.
You're talking about the runaway bride. That's real. People don't talk about what's underneath that. There's fear. There's fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. At some point, this person gonna reject me. This person gonna leave me. And I don't think a lot of women, they're just kind of hanging out in the surface area. They're not really talking real. Let's go a little deeper. Let's talk real talk. So all this surface stuff, I'm like, okay, it's more there.
So just real quick to the folks that are watching this tonight, I got some questions for the ladies. Ladies, would you agree with Nneka there? Like, are you that afraid of rejection? Because Nneka, for men, and again, just a question on and I'm gonna put it out here in a second. I'm gonna type it in the comments. Women, from what you're saying, women are really that afraid of rejection. This is new to me. Again, this is something that I've never heard before. That women are just, and just would sound like that they're just that fearful of rejection. That women are just that fearful. Because you know what, for men, I would think, this is just me guessing, right? As a man, 56 years old. Again, I've been married for 31 of my 56 years, but men are used to being rejected. We don't, I think most men in their mind, they figure in their mind, listen, the chances of me actually being able to do this could be 1 out of 2. Very confident men, of course, they're going to shoot their shot, and whatever the case is going to be, it's going to be. But I think most men at minimum, it's a 50-50 shot, right? And they're like, you know what, I can live with it either way because nothing ventured, nothing gained. If I don't take my shot, then this other guy that's sitting beside me might actually get the prize while I'm watching him walk off with the prize I could have had. It's interesting because I was talking to one of my frat brothers this weekend. He came past the shop and we, I taking care of some stuff for him. And we were talking, and he was telling me this very interesting story, Nneka. He said that he met his girlfriend in a bar, right?
Okay.
And here was what was interesting to me. I've never done this before. I wouldn't do it because I think it would be quite risky to do. But he said he saw her sitting at the bar, right? And he was like, man, I see this guy. For the most part, we call guys goofballs or goobers or whatever the case, right? He said, I see this goober sitting over there talking to her.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And he says he instantly realizes she's annoyed, but the guy's buying her drinks. Right. So I think in the guy's mind, he's like, if I buy her a drink, that's buying me time. So the more I buy her, the more time I get to spend. Maybe possibly this is going to lead somewhere. So he told me, Nneka, he said, and this could have went sideways real fast, real bad. He said he walked up to her and said, hey, hon, I'm sorry I kept you late. What was it? Oh, thank you. I appreciate you, man, for taking care of making sure she was good. But I'm here now. Thank you. I appreciate that. Babe, what did you want to drink? And then he turns his back on the guy and continues on the conversation. But what happened, she was like, thank you so much. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're here. Come on, sit down, whatever. So it went well for him. That's a major shot.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a major shot. He said, Mike, what did I have to lose? Her saying no? That was it.
He assessed the situation. He saw what was happening.
Yep.
So he didn't strike until he was certain that she was annoyed with this guy.
Yep. But guess
That's
what?
good.
Just because she was annoyed with him doesn't mean he would have been the right person. He just took the shot, realizing that's my opening. Let me go do this. Again, my point is, men, we're just like, listen, and we are, you're right, we're the pursuers, the hunters, or whatever the case is, but we know as a pursuer and a hunter, you're not always going to get your prey. That could be a 50-50 shot. It could be a 1 in 4, 1 in 10. Who knows? It might be your lucky day that day.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to me to hear you say that oftentimes, or at least in my mind, that's how I'm processing it, that oftentimes women are a bit afraid to say something because the rejection of what if it doesn't go the way they thought. And in my mind, I always think, Nneka, what if it does? Yeah. But you'll never know if you never take the shot.
Yeah. I don't think it's just the rejection piece, Michael. I just feel like historically, I think we are used to the norm, which is men approach women, and that's what we're used to. And now you have some women out there who are very, assertive, and they go for it. I just couldn't pull that off. That wasn't what I could pull off. And so and some women can't pull that off. And I'm not knocking them. If that's what they do. But that's not something. All the women that I know, they would never, the single women that I know, they would never approach a man. They'll give a green light, like a smile, like, you can approach me, you'll give some eye contact. And once I give you that eye contact, it's up to you to do, what you're going to do with it. Because I already gave you the green light. Now you got to give something, right?
Yeah. And let me just say this, because Jeff talked about this, and I thought about it later after we had gotten off the podcast some weeks ago. He was like, nowadays, you have fewer men, and I'm hoping this doesn't keep people even more single, but you have fewer men approaching women because of the Me Too movement. So you get a lot of men where they're just like, I'm not going to say nothing. Like, you have to tell me something. You got to do more than just give me a green light. You got to give me a couple of green lights, because I don't want to get caught up in something where I could be arrested. Right? Like, you could say that I was harassing you, or, this, that, or other. You don't know, so you don't say anything. Yeah. And so I think a lot of men, I don't want to say a lot of men, but men now are a lot more cautious in their approach to women because of so many things that have happened. And
they should be. Men and women, we should be more intentional about how we coming off and how we're presenting ourselves. I think that's a good. I'm not saying that everybody should, cry wolf, like, like something is, somebody is doing something wrong. But I feel like we should approach relationships with caution. Yeah. Don't be saying crazy stuff, and don't be sending no new pictures, sexting, you don't, all the.
So we're old, Nneka. A lot of people, even in our age group, like that kind of stuff. Nneka, listen, I don't want to say we're dinosaurs, but it's a different generation. It's a different generation. And what I'm realizing too, Nneka, as we do these podcasts and I talk more and more to people, I'm realizing how, the era that we lived in and were brought up in is not the same as today.
Right.
And so that requires that we have to adjust our thinking a little bit. And what I believe has happened is a lot of men and women today, if you talk to them who are single in their 50s, 60s, maybe even their 70s plus, they have adapted to this new way of dating and this new approach to say, look, as a woman, I may need to say something because he needs more than just the atypical green light. And I would love to know this from ladies and, listening and viewing us on today, how do you feel about, giving, or would you agree, a man, you have to now give the man a green light, or maybe something more than a green light for him to approach, just knowing that he may be very interested in Nneka, but he may not approach because he's afraid that the approach might net him something that he wasn't looking for. Not rejection, but this could lead to something more crazy than that.
I think I love these conversations, Michael. I think people just need to, for men, look for the sign, the green light, and you got to shoot your shot, but I just don't see you know, a lot of Midwest men here where I am shooting their shot. Like East Coast men are a little different. I remember,
Really?
yeah, I've been East Coast and they are very much, they speak, they
Mm.
smile, they give you eye contact. Midwestern men, they do not give you any eye contact. It's just like they don't hold the door open for you. It's just different here. So, like I said, if I was single, I would live in Michigan. No,
You said you wouldn't.
no, no, I would not live in. If I wanted to be in a relationship, I would think I would move East Coast or the South, or you know, somewhere where people want to be in relationship. People are,
Mm.
you know, the Southern hospitality. Like I said, I was in Savannah. The way the men, some of the men, I tell you, I was sitting on this park bench, and it was the sweetest thing. He had a cowboy hat on. He took the hat off as he walked by me. He nodded, and he didn't put that hat back on until he went all the way past me.
Mm.
Did it again, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I'm like, that was different.
Wow.
Fred is a gentleman, but you don't find, because he's my husband though. But you know, just to be sitting there and you take off your hat while I'm sitting on a park bench, you ain't have to do that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You know what's interesting, that, and I will say this, I don't know if that's because that's Southern where you were.
Yeah. Southern, yeah.
Yeah, in the north or in the east or northeast, or you know, the mid-eastern part of the country, you're probably ain't gonna get that. You're just probably not gonna get that. Southern men, they are a lot different than the men in the northeast or the north. I don't think we're that chivalrous. I don't believe that we are.
You say
That's I promise you. I'm from the north, right? I'm sitting. Well, some people consider this the South, like the top of the South, but of course we don't. Now here in D.C., Maryland, and well, depending on what part of Virginia, but definitely D.C. and Maryland, we don't think that. But I don't think you're gonna get that. Nneka, I'll be honest with you. I remember growing up, you didn't speak, just in general. You didn't speak to people. Like if somebody spoke to you, you're on your guard. Like, why are you saying something to me?
I know.
It took me a long time. I'm telling you, it took me a long time to get used to. I didn't, you know, when I became comfortable with that was in college. Because you know, when you're on a college campus, everybody's gonna speak to you. Everybody is new, so they're pretty much gonna speak to you. That's when I actually learned that, oh, it's okay to say, you know, hello or whatever the case to someone. And when I'm in Texas, Nneka, everybody operates the way that you're talking about. Everybody. They call you, yes, they say yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am, thank you, please, excuse me, you know, just very hospitable. Where here in the north, at least I really hadn't seen or experienced that.
Yeah. A safer space is created. When a safer space is created like that, I think people make more connections.
Yeah.
Because I think people are too in their head. They overthink things. They talk themselves out of a relationship. Oh, I don't like how he did this. I don't like how he chewed. I don't like. It's just like, you got to work on something. You got to, there has to be something that you're going to work on. That you believe in God for. And I think, again, no one should tolerate abuse. You know, that's, you know, no abuse. But there's some things, you know, I remember I was dating this guy, nicest guy. Oh, I was in my 20s. He did not know how to dress. Oh, like,
was that a big thing for you, him dressing well?
Oh, he did. Yeah, it was. He did not know how to dress. But I dated him anyway because he was a good guy. And that's something I can teach. You know, I kind of like say, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this?
Would he do it?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He did. But he just was not a good dresser. And it was a turnoff, but he was a nice guy. And I remember, you know, just kind of, you know, as we kind of got into the relationship, kind of saying, hey, why don't you try, instead of these Wranglers, literally.
You said Wranglers.
Literally, instead of these Wranglers, get some Levi's. Or at the time, like, get some Levi's. You know, they ain't got fits so tight, right? So yeah. Man. But I think there are things that we can work on. That kind of stuff can be changed. But I think some people, you know, be fixated on the wrong things.
Yeah, that was interesting. The part where you mentioned, being too much in your head, and this is where I was earlier on when we were talking. I was wondering, and I'll ask you, do you think back then you were way too much in your head, like you just overthought that in terms of not dating because you figured if I do date somebody, they're gonna take me away from it. That may mess up what I'm trying to do. Do you think you were too much in your head at that time?
Yeah, I was, because I remember I had an aunt, and she's still alive today. She's 101 years old, and she
Oh,
would
wow.
always. Her name is Hetty. Nneka girl, Nneka girl, that's what they call me. Nneka girl, when you get married, girl, you don't want to wait too long. I said, Auntie, well, I'm in school. Girl, you can be in school and have a relationship. And that was, that's what their generation, that era was like. You had to be hooked up with somebody, or you were an old maid. And I just didn't want anything, because again, you're in your head, you consider relationship equals drama. If that's what you kind of encountered. Like I said, Fred was the first relationship that was good. Right. So it's just like, so I'm glad I didn't, run from that one, of course. But yeah, so when you have that experience, like, why bother? Let me just focus on what I know is, right for me, and that's my education, obtaining my.
So today, being the mature woman that you are, what advice would you give? And as a therapist too, both. I wonder if the advice would be different, but I bet it's probably the same. At least I feel like it's the same. What advice would you give to folks now? So we've heard part of what you said in terms of you wouldn't approach a man. So that part we know is, I think that's more generational than anything. But what advice would you give to knowing that, the way that you were in terms of being in your head? What advice would you give to some of the young women today about the exact same situation? And these corporate women too now, by the way.
Well, I think we have to look at the big picture. Really look at the big picture, because I think sometimes people are not being honest with themselves, because a lot of times I feel like women, we miss the boat too when it comes to meeting. You meet somebody and you're picking him apart. You got too many hang-ups, and he ain't this, he ain't doing this. Like, be realistic. It's just like, you got to work towards something. It's just like, everything is not gonna be perfect. I'm not saying you should settle for things that are really, really important to you, but if it's a function of, you meet this blue collar worker versus this white collar worker.
You about to start trouble.
But it's just like, that blue collar worker may be amazing. He's hardworking. And then you got this white collar worker who's a bum. Right? And it's simple, keep it real. He's a bum. He ain't right. He don't know how to treat you. But sometimes people see that blue collar worker and feel like they don't have the intellectual ability to kind of hang out in the circles that I hang out in. And, when he says what he does, it's not impressive enough. And I don't feel like people should judge people based on what they do. That was never, ever me. I remember I dated a guy, and he was a blue collar worker, but it bothered him that I was obtaining my education. It bothered him. When you get your education, you're gonna leave me. And it used to bother me so much. So I'm like, I knew it wasn't going to work, because he was too fixated on that. I didn't go out pursuing an educated man. I didn't. I'm going to hang out in these circles so I can find me this kind of man. It just happened. But I feel like, don't overthink the whole process. If you meet someone that's good to you, that you love, date that person for yourself and not for everybody else. I feel like some people date people, to get the from other people. And it's just like, date for you. Don't overthink it. Understand your some of your own hangups, some of your insecurities. Understand self first before you get into a relationship. But Mike, I do want to ask you this. When you were single, would you have took to a woman approaching you? Were you okay with that?
Yeah. I told you my wife approached me. And here's the thing, right? Yeah. So we were at this party, And Nneka, this is the honest to God truth. I just wasn't paying attention. I think I might have been looking in the direction, but I wasn't necessarily paying attention, not just to her, but just in general. And the reason being is because I went there. He's a good friend now, but when I went to the party, I knew him because we were in college together. So he had this party. It was like in the summer, whatever the case was. So I just went because another roommate was like, Mike, you should come. It's gonna probably be a great time. I was like, I ain't really trying to go. He was like, man, come on, Mike, let's go. So I was like, all right, whatever, let's go. And so I was in that mind space. I wasn't like going in and like, I really honestly wasn't going in to have fun. I was thinking we're gonna be in here for about 15 minutes, then we're gonna get, right? We're gonna go do something else. But it just so happens, as you said, Nneka, God's divine, appointment. It just so happened she was there, and she came over to me and said something. She just started conversation. That's what I was asking about. Is it okay just to say hello? And she came over and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I think she might have asked me, "Did I want to dance?" I think maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so, but I don't remember. I can't quite remember that part. But she definitely approached me and said hello. Now, after she said hello, I kind of took it from there because I was very interested, right? Based on physical appearance, I was very interested in my wife, but I'm glad she did because otherwise, Nneka, I would not have seen her because again, my mind was I don't even really want to be here.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is just me and in general, and I think the guys that I hang around, I don't think they care that much or put that much stock into. Man, can you believe that woman came over and said something to me? In fact, I think a lot of men, and I think it takes a special, maybe not special, that's the wrong word. I think it takes a different kind of man to be okay with that. Where we're not, that doesn't move the needle one way or the other to say, oh, I'm gonna throw her away because she came over and spoke to me first. Sometimes, and this was even, before I got married, I would always be like, because I had women, just let me say this. I had women approach me a lot of times when I was younger. Now I do too still, but not like when I was younger before I was married. But yeah, I had a lot of women approach me about, hey, how you doing? It never bothered me. In fact, I liked it. I was like, I'm glad that she's not scared to shoot a shot or take a chance. It just let me know that she was a pretty outgoing person, a pretty bold person, not really afraid, daring. All those kinds of things.
What if you're not interested? How do you, as a man, tell a woman you're not interested? How do you guys do that? Because sometimes men, I think sometimes you guys don't realize when a woman is flirting with you.
Absolutely, that's me. I'm oblivious to that. Oblivious. That's why I said some men need. They probably need more than one green light. They might need a couple. I'm pretty sure that the women that I probably dated in the past, they probably be like, yeah, he just didn't get it. And my wife has told me before, she's literally said, she had to teach me, this is when a woman is flirting with you. These are the different signs. Nneka, I'm like, for me personally, because my mind isn't there, I'm not paying attention to what she's doing or how she's doing it. Like she had to tell me, don't let her, especially for church. So now church got a whole other set of rules, right? So when you're in church, you normally don't hug a woman, straight on. You normally do church hug. It's the kind of shoulder lean in. Exactly. And she told me, she was like, when women give you a full-on chest kind of thing, that means something. I'm like, oh, it does? She was like, yeah. But again, not knowing as a man, you're not, at least I wasn't looking at it. I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't even know the difference between a church hug and okay, I'm going to give you all this kind of a hug. Now starting trying to touch you and all this kind of stuff, of course, that's because I've had women try to do that as well.
So what do you say? Because I think you guys, there's parts of you that don't want to hurt their feelings, but you can't worry about that. So how do you manage that?
You just respectfully tell them, hey, thank you, but I'm married. For me, this is what I do. I say, thank you, I appreciate it, but I'm married. So, and I just compliment and say, this is a lovely pair of shoes you have on. And, I keep on moving. Literally, I might say, oh, those are while I'm walking, I'm saying this. Oh, man, that's a very beautiful pair of shoes you got on. And guess what? Most of them realize that if I'm walking and talking and saying that, And this is something my wife had to teach me. The more time you give a woman, the more they buy into you. So limit the conversation so they don't have time to buy into you. So I was like, okay, those are beautiful pair of shoes, but Nneka, I'm walking while I'm saying it. So by the time she says something, she's probably pretty much talking to my back. And I know some women, and this is the downside for me. I think is that some women think I'm being arrogant and rude. I'm really not being arrogant or rude. And I've even heard some women say that. I said, no, man, if I had a chance to tell them, I'm not being arrogant or rude, I'm married. And I don't want you to think that it's something more than what it is. And guess what? I may be taking it too far, but I'm doing it because I just need you to know this is where I stand. Now, women who understand that, they're like, oh, Mike, I didn't think nothing of it. I knew, blah, 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 blah. But there's some women, you got to do that because if you don't, they'll stand there and talk you to death because they're thinking, oh, I got them now. And they'll even do, and I've learned this, they'll even position themselves, late women will even position themselves. Let's say we're having a conversation and other women might be coming around or you think they're coming around, they'll position themselves to put their back to them so that I can't really see, that whole night. So I've learned a lot of these little things. And so I know now, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to give this a lot of time or attention because I know and I see this, you think this is something more than what it is. And it's not. It really isn't.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But I try to be gentle. Now, not all men take that approach, Nneka. Some men, I don't know why they do this. They'll embarrass a woman. And in my mind, why would you embarrass somebody? And I take the approach, you don't want to be embarrassed. So why would you embarrass somebody else?
What's the point of that? Right.
It's showing off, like, oh, look how I just rejected her. You're like, come on, man. You don't want to necessarily do that. And I've seen men do it. And I say, man, and I usually will say something like, man, why do you do that? Oh, man, what you told us, like, man, you didn't have to do her like that. All you had to do was simply tell her, you know what, thank you, I appreciate it. She would have understood that you weren't interested. You don't have a lot. I have met few women, very few women, who when you tell them you're not interested, they keep poking. Like I've not met many. I've met a couple, but I've not met many. And that's less than maybe 3 in my entire life. They just kept on poking.
Wow.
Yeah. They'll just follow you like, oh, you're not going to say nothing to me. You're not going to talk to me. I mean, Nneka, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. I've had that. And I have to tell them, I was like, listen, I had one time, actually, that you make me think, you really jog my memory here. There's one time I did tell this girl, look, just leave me alone. You don't have to say anything to me. Please just leave me alone.
Wow.
Yep. And she, Nneka, this girl cussed me out so bad, called me all kinds of MFs, boop. I was like, okay. I mean, I got to live with it. Call me gay, call me a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm like, man, that stuff don't bother me. None of the words. I don't even know you. So it's not like, it means anything.
Right. But what would you say to those women that might go, I'll pose the same question to you. Women who are in Corp,
shoot your shot.
Okay.
You too old to be playing around, messing around. It was Tanya who said the same thing. Remember when we were on with Tanya? And she was like, I will shoot my shot. Listen, me personally, I don't want to see you single because you didn't take the opportunity that may have been in front of you. I say take the shot. At the very least, you wind up making a 3-pointer. Make a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't take the shot, you don't make a 3-pointer, a 2-pointer, a 1-pointer. You don't get anything.
Yeah. And again,
you gotta shoot the shot.
Yeah. And again, I think it's not for me, but if women can pull it off, go for it. But it's just, it would not have been for me at all. I just don't want women to stay on this surface. Like, man, I let a lot get away and not understanding why, or just kind of putting it all on the men or the men putting it all on the women. I just feel like people need to do a deeper dive within themselves and know what they are, what they are working with when they are wanting to be in relationships. Some people don't need to be in relationships.
Agreed. 1,000,000%.
You shouldn't be in one.
Yep. Don't ruin somebody else's life.
Right.
I would 100% agree with that. But again, like I said, we live in a different day and age where there's way less men than there are women.
Yeah.
And if you spot an opportunity, I would highly advise you to go for it. I would tell my daughters that. Now, again, I'm not saying I think you should, just throw yourself on somebody. But I don't see anything wrong with saying, hey, hello, how are you doing? I don't see anything. Because if a man is interested, he's going to pick the conversation up right away. As soon as you did that, boom, he's going to pick it up and keep that train moving. Now, if he ain't interested, he might be like me. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you stopping by. Those are a beautiful pair of shoes. And as I'm saying that, boom, my back is to you.
What'd you say, Michael? Those are some beautiful shoes. Wow.
I'm up out of it. And it's a gentle way of just letting you know, hey, I'm not, and I won't be mean about it, because I understand, especially if there's other women there, I'm definitely not going to do that, because I'm not into destroying somebody's
exactly.
Their reputation or destroying their demeanor. I don't want to do that. It's not necessary. It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay.
Yeah. But I would say I think women should go for it. But again, I know, and I would love to, I wish we would have had some single ladies in their 40s and 50s and 40s, 50s, 60s plus to tell us. And I still would like to know from the ladies, if you wouldn't mind dropping us a comment in the comments, tell us what's your approach. Do you feel like Nneka, or do you feel like me? Or is it some days it's like Nneka, some days it's like Mike? I would love to know. And then I would also love to know what the women in their 30s and their 20s are doing, because from what I've seen, Nneka, they go hard.
Yeah. I'm going to try we really need to get some 30-year-olds on here.
Yeah, we should.
30-year-olds.
Because I want to know what their lives are like, what their dating lives are like, and how much different would it look. Because Nneka, it would be interesting. That's something that actually maybe we should do that next time for the next show, is to figure out, because I would love to know what, compared to us in our 30s, what 30-year-olds do and what 40-year-olds do, and even 20-year-olds for that matter. How do they approach, this whole dating thing?
It's hard. I hear a lot of people, I know a lot of single women.
Do you think, by the way, I'm gonna let you go. We're gonna wrap it up on this. Do you think they're single because of what you said, a man has not approached them, or they realize, you know what, I don't need to be in a relationship because I'm not even good for myself and I'm not gonna hurt someone else? Or is it something else?
Well, the women that I know, I think for the most part, Mike, I feel like it's a combination. I feel like men are not approaching women. The women that, where I live, and, the women that I know, I don't feel like men are approaching them. And these are good.
Let me cut you off. Yeah. When you say the men are approaching them, is it the men that they want, or is it men in general? Because I would love to know the answer to this.
That's a good question, Michael.
Because I hear women say it all the time. They be like, oh, I'm not getting, this, that, and the other. I'm like, is it because of the men that you want, or just men in general? Because I can't see, if you're a pretty woman, if you're an attractive woman, I don't want to say pretty, attractive woman, I can't see a man not approaching you. Like, that's beyond me. I just can't see that. Now, if it's the guy that you want, it's 10 guys in the room, it's 40 women in the room, 2 of them look exactly what the package is right. It's 40 women, and it's 2 of y'all, and if he don't come over, are you rejecting all the other ones that do? Would you have done that, Nneka? That's a question for you.
Say, what's the question? Would I
reject? So would you, well, I guess I'm assuming you have, you rejected men, if the one that you didn't want exactly didn't approach you, but another guy did, would you just automatically kind of just shoo him off?
The one that I did not want to deal with?
Mm-hmm. Would you just show? Because you don't know. You like you said, although Fred is an attractive person, you said, what did you say? How did you put it rather? Because he approached you.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had to approach you. So maybe that's not a good example.
Yeah,
there,
he had to. Yeah, I would not have. Nope.
You said, no way, Jose.
Nope.
Yeah.
Come hither.
Yeah, but what do you think? Going back to the question, what do you think? What do you is it because men aren't approaching them, or is it because the man they want is not approaching them?
That could be, Michael. I think it's probably a little bit of both. Because the men that they want? I guess I got to ask that question.
I want you to ask that question because I'm gonna put my money all of it. I'm pushing all my chips to the center of the table. It's the men that they want. It's not that men aren't approaching them. I think it's the men that they want. And you said this earlier on. Sometimes you use the term, and I never forget this, dating differently, which is opening your eyes to say, you know what? He doesn't look all the way there. He's like 80-20, like you did with the guys, like, oh, this guy, horrible dresser, but we could do something with him. Is it the 80-20 rule or is the 100-100 rule? It's all or nothing.
No,
maybe you gotta drop that thing to 80-20, maybe even 70-30, maybe. You know, you just don't know. And I say that to say this, and this is not saying anybody's desperate, but what I'm saying is if you aren't getting the thing that you say you want, does that mean what you want doesn't want you? And so you got to adjust to either one, work to get the thing you want, or work with what you have, not with what you wish you had.
Yeah, I just kind of go, that's loaded. Yeah, everything you're saying is definitely causing me to pause. And you're right. When I think about my friends that are single, I feel, oh, man, but Michael, they're in their 50s though.
I know, but think about it.
Like they're being approached either, though. I feel like they're not being approached. I just feel like a lot of men our age want.
I want you to ask. I really want you to ask because I believe they're not being approached by the men that they want. It's not that it's not the other way around. I just don't believe it. I believe they're probably getting a lot of men who they're just like, don't even waste your time.
But you know, I've actually heard friends say to me, and I have some good looking friends. I've heard them say, Nneka, nobody, actually, let me go back. I've heard a few say, Nneka, no one approaches me. No one says anything. One, they don't do a whole lot. They don't go out. So, you know, you can't expect people to just come knocking on your door. So I think a lot of it is that they don't put themselves in spaces to meet people, you know. But yeah. But again, I really believe like these Midwestern men, I just feel like, Michael, they're different here.
Wow. I bet you they're getting approached though. I would love to know the answer to that question. Because I feel like they're the men that they really want.
They're not being approached by those.
They're not being approached by. And then, you know what? Again, I think it's the 80-20 thing. I'm like, come on now. You can't do an all or nothing. Well, I ain't gonna say that. You may want to reconsider the all or nothing approach and say, let me look at this 80-20, 90-10, because I might find a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Like
I said, the guy that didn't know how to dress, you know, back then I was a little, you know, shallow, like, I don't like the way he dressed. But because he was such a nice guy, sometimes we got to give different people a chance. I mean, I didn't end up with him, but he was still, I have nothing negative to say about him. It just didn't work out because he wasn't meant to be my husband, but he just wasn't a good dresser. So then I had this one guy who was a good dresser, very good looking, but he's a liar. Oh my gosh. Every word that came out of his mouth, Michael, was just, he was a salesman too. That's so he knew how to sell it. But yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah, but
and then you wind up with that, Nneka. Like, so you say you want somebody to look like that, and then you get that. Then what do you do with that?
Yes. Yep.
You got what you asked for.
You got what you asked for. You got to be really, clear about what you want.
Better.
Yeah. Better. I would rather date the poor dresser, help him build the man, build him up, dress him up, because he's a good guy, whether, because dressing is not, having the right kind of clothes on is not everything.
No, it's not.
But it's nice to see a well-dressed man, right? I
would agree with that. I would agree. And just one thing, last thing, because you just said it, and I hope it just don't take us too far, but the whole build a man concept, like I want to talk about this for just a second. This is just me, all right? I don't think you can build a man. I think you can help a man. But you can't build a man. If he isn't, this is again just me. If he isn't 80% of the way there, you probably aren't going to want them. You're probably going to throw them back at some point in time,
Yeah.
right? Because, and I say this from the perspective of myself, right? I remember when I first met my wife, I was in college, she was working, she was home, and I told her, I was like, I'm poor. Like, I'm going to be poor for about 4 years because I have to work to put myself through college. I don't have a trust fund. My parents don't have. So I got to pay to make this happen, right? And I'm in the process of working 3 jobs because that's how determined I am to be able to complete this mission in my life. And so if you want to be with me, I'm going to be pretty on the poor side. So a lot of stuff going out and all that, I can't really do a lot, but I can spend a lot of time with you, which I would like to do, right? But going out eating fancy, and you know what she said? I'm not worried about all that. And if we do go out and you don't have it, I'll pay for it. It's no big deal.
There you go.
I asked my wife once a long time ago, Nneka, I was like, why did you stay with me? You know what she said? And this is for all the women out there, and I want y'all to pay attention to this. She said, because I always believed that you were going to be something. It was just a matter of time.
Wow.
That's all it was. It was just a matter of time. I didn't date you because I didn't think you would, you wouldn't be anything. I dated you because I knew at some point you would be something. When a man hears words like that, Nneka, it'll make you run through a brick wall. I have no other choice but to run out and become something.
Yeah.
Now, what the something is, I have no idea. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't see this. But she says she did. And I'm like, I don't know how you saw it, and I didn't. But she's like, because you got your head down, but I see you got your head on right.
You're grinding, yeah.
I'm grinding.
But you're in college, though, too. And so that's the difference. You're grinding in college, but whereas, you date somebody now in their 50s and they're still not there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you know what, Nneka, not all of us have, and I realize this, not all of us have the same set of circumstances, right? Like I was in college, my family was doing pretty okay. They just couldn't afford to send me to college. And, I got friends of mine who were just as smart, but they just didn't have all the opportunities. Some opportunities they just didn't have. But if they'd have had a good woman to be beside them, that could have changed their whole entire life.
That's what she mentioned that. She mentioned that, she mentioned that. We're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to kind of touch on that because Fred often talks about, the man that he is, he could not be without a wife.
100%.
He said, I could not be a single man. I'm built to be a married man. And it's funny. I think I probably told you the story when I met his grandmother. When she met me, we had just gotten married. She said, I knew that boy was going to get married again because he ain't the single type. Because he's not. When I think about what he does for a living, it really, even like, the presidency, they said there's no single president because it makes your credibility, it kind of, raises your credibility when you are a family man.
Yeah. It'll stunt when you're in a professional world, you're in a corporate world and you start moving up, it'll stunt your growth by not having a spouse or a fiance. Yep. People want to see you with someone on your side because it says something about you.
It says something.
You're stable. Like you know how to take care of someone. You're willing to take some care of someone. All these different things, as opposed to being single. You could be looked at or viewed as being selfish. You probably don't handle money well. You don't handle responsibility well. All these different things. And these are all perceptions, right?
Yeah.
It's not true. It's just how somebody perceives you to be. But,
for sure.
But I mean, that's one that sticks with you for sure. But Fred was right. I'm the same way, Nneka. I tell my wife all the time, I can't be Mike Johnson without you. I can't do it. I don't know how other men do it, but I just couldn't. I can focus on doing these other things because she's focused on taking care of the other stuff.
I appreciated that statement with that she mentioned there. I'm like, Fred mentioned that. So yeah. But I know we gotta go, Michael.
Yeah, we do. We do. All right. So listen, get me those answers, please. I
know, because that's a good question. I never asked that question, Michael. Like, are you not being approached at all? Or are you not being approached by the person you want to be approached by? Right. That is I have 3 friends that I'm gonna ask that question.
Please. I would love to know the answer. We're gonna get out of here. Black, brilliant, and still looking. Why do Black women in corporate America find it hard to find marriage? Man, we have talked about it tonight, and we would love to hear from you, hear your opinions, especially you Black women. you brilliant Black women out here in corporate America who are doing the goddamn thing, but you are single. What is it? Tell us. We want to know. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. Me and my co-host Nneka J. Owens, our therapist, on deck. Thank you. Please share the podcast. Let other people know if you haven't yet signed up and subscribed. Please do so. Likes, comment, do all those different kinds of things. It helps us in the algorithm to get the word out. And we appreciate you for those of you who have done that and are doing it. Nneka, good to see you.
Likewise.
Good to have you on. Great topic, and I cannot wait for those answers.
For my
We are here.
do my homework. See you later.